Okay, let's start part two.
Sneakers with you and the planet in mind. Spring has officially sprung and we're trading out the boots and cold weather kicks for something a little lighter and brighter. Crafted with organic canvas and spring shades like rose, off-white, and green, our bestseller Aka Low is sure to become your staple shoe of the season, and lucky for you, they just cleared a 77,000 person waitlist. With 10 plus colorways, bold prints, and collaborations with brands like Avatar, Pantone, and the Peanuts, there's a pair for every personality. With over 30,000 five-star reviews, there's no wonder this ultra comfy and...
I don't know how you have such good reviews if your wait list is so fucking long. Oh my god, even.
celeb favorite style is flying off the shelves. The biggest difference between these sneakers and your old sneakers, Aka is actually comfortable, with custom designed cork and memory foam insoles to ensure a perfect fit. Guys, I'm wearing right now.
Look at him.
A brand new pair of Cariumas right out of the box.
And a skateboard just flew into the room and went under his feet like Thor's hammer.
And here I go. Bye.
I just did a kickflip. Never done this before.
Weird that you don't want to actually show us what the shoes look like, but okay, let's go.
Cariuma is a B Corp certified sustainable sneaker company. They're known for their reforestation efforts in the Brazilian rainforest. Their co-founders, David and Fernando, both grew up in Brazil, so this project is especially close to home. For every pair of sneakers sold, Cariuma plants 2 trees, and they've already planted over 2 million to date. Now, for a limited time, offline listeners can get an exclusive 15% off your pair of Cariuma sneakers. Go to cariuma.com/offline to get 15% off. That's cariuma.com/offline for 15% off, only for a limited time.
All right, let's go.
Offline is brought to you by Smile Actives. Have you ever wished that you had a whiter and brighter smile? Well, before you visit a dentist, you should know that their whitening treatments can be very expensive, and it's not just the price. You also have to book the appointment and schedule time away from work or family to sit in a dentist's office chair while undergoing the procedure. It's a hassle. It also hurts. It can leave you in pain for like 24 hours afterwards. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
Try Smile Actives at home or anywhere, anytime. Smile Actives offers a safe and affordable alternative to those expensive whitening procedures. You just add Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel to your regular toothpaste. It's been formulated with polyclean technology to boost stain removal and deliver active whitening ingredients into teeth's grooves and crannies to get better whitening. So no change in your routine, no extra time, yet people will start commenting on your whiter, brighter smile in just days. 97% of Smile Actives users in a clinical trial reported up to 6 shades whiter on average, all within 30 days. Love Smile Actives. I use it every day. Just squeeze it on my toothbrush with my toothpaste. That's all you do. And then,
That's all you do.
And then you're getting whiter teeth.
Yeah.
That's it. It's that simple.
Your teeth are whiter than the crowded seat back.
Hey.
Before you know it.
Boom. Kaboom.
Timely, topical.
Visit smileactives.com/offline today to receive our special buy one, get one free offer with auto delivery and free shipping and handling. That's smileactives.com/offline. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Well, I keep thinking about 2 words you said about Fox, which is megaphone and validator, right? And I think it shows how this conspiracy ecosystem, particularly on the right, works. I think there was a time where if something ended up on Fox, you would say, okay, well, yeah, they're the most popular cable network, prime time, 3 million, 4 million viewers. That's now. But, when you think there's 160 million voters out there, that's still a drop in the bucket. The internet changes that because for 2 reasons. One, the megaphone, which is, if it's broadcast on Fox, it's not just on Fox, it's on foxnews.com, it goes on Facebook, clips are shared all over the internet. And 2, I think this is sort of an underappreciated point, is the validator point, right? That, it's one thing if Gateway Pundit says something, or Breitbart says something, or it's in a Reddit thread. If it's on Fox, it has sort of this air of legitimacy, and the legitimacy comes from both the fact that they're a television network, the fact that politicians from both parties go on the network, the other journalists treat it as a...
Yeah, I can't even understand why anybody treats Fox seriously anymore. I haven't watched their channel in probably over a decade because they are so off base with their reporting. They are I've been hearing for over a decade that people go to their parents' houses and set the child lock on that channel and don't give their parents the code, because it's they are absolutely poisoning Americans right now. That it's such we have massive mental health problems in America today because of that type of brainwashing. And they advertise themselves as an entertainment channel, and that's how they get away with it. So, how can grown ass adults watch that channel and take it seriously? How can they do this?
News organization. And so the validator function, I think, really helps these conspiracies take off in a way that they wouldn't if they just stayed online.
Fox is alone in having the power to take a story and, by virtue of putting it on air, Sean Hannity's show, Tucker Carlson, or on the front page of FoxNews.com, which, by the way, is one of the most read news sites in America in terms of digital media.
Wow.
It just gives it this escape velocity that no other media outlet on the conservative side has. And Fox knows that. Fox knows that it has that power, and it also knows that it has to protect that power. I mean, in the case of the Seth Rich story, I get a little bit into the 2016 campaign and how Fox saw Breitbart News, then under the watch of Steve Bannon, as this sort of challenger coming up on the right flank of Fox. And Fox went to great lengths to try to take away Breitbart's momentum, to try to co-opt them, maybe by getting closer to Donald Trump, and certainly by the time Trump is the nominee, airing his rallies live, really embracing the Trump viewership. There is just no equal to Fox in terms of its ability to take a story and blast it into the world. And of course, once it's on Fox, then it's on Drudge again. Then it gets picked up again by everyone else. And the cycle, I mean, the news cycle, is circular. And if you get to Fox, you've just launched it around the sun, another 100 times. And in terms of the Rich family, that was the moment for them when Fox News really grabbed the story, published this.
Yeah, but they also made a mistake because the Rich family allowed Donna Brazile to come in and do like PR on this, and Donna Brazile had already been exposed in the DNC emails as giving away debate questions in advance to Hillary. So this all just compounded, They also hired a prolific PR. I don't remember if he was an attorney or if he just did PR, but they hired this prolific PR guy that had already been doing a lot of work for them, who had already done cleanup for them, and who was connected to coming after associates of Julian Assange to represent the family. So I think he must have been an attorney. I don't remember his name, but I think I've covered this maybe in an article, or maybe I was too scared to. But I am aware of that particular situation. And so they were surrounding the family with some unscrupulous people, which made the situation worse because it just compounds the conspiracy theory on this, that it was a hit rather than a tragic mugging that ended in a fatality.
This written story on its site that it would retract a week later. That was the point of no return for them. That was when they realized, this thing's not going to go away. We can't hope for it to quiet down. A Google search for Seth's name will never be the same after this point, and their thinking starts to change about what to do about it at that point.
I think the motivation here is interesting too. Like, one dynamic you notice from the texts that have come out in the Dominion lawsuit between Fox hosts is this constant fear that they'll lose viewers to one of these competitors, like a Breitbart or now OAN Newsmax.
Right.
Did you notice that dynamic at play, that they were always sort of worried about, that it was, the motivation was like ratings and money? And how many of the Fox staffers and hosts involved in spreading the lie about Seth do you think actually believed it?
So on the first one, the ratings, audience drive everything. That definitely came through in the emails and text messages leading up to this FoxNews.com story being published, a sense that this could be massive for us. This could fuel an entire week's worth of Fox News primetime segments. And the fact that Fox News itself was breaking this really enormous story. I mean, if you think about the repercussions of what Fox published about Seth Rich, saying that he was this leaker and that everything that everyone had said about Russian interference in the election was wrong. I mean, this is earth-shattering. This is arguably bigger than Watergate, if true. It just wasn't. And you see them absolutely thinking about audience, thinking about how this story has already percolated around in the conservative media, and that if Fox was going to do something, they had to do something.
Well, like I said, you're not really deep diving into what the conspiracy theory was. Part of the problem was that they had hired a security company. I think they were called CrowdStrike, right? They're actually based out here in Southern California, and but they have connections to the same Ukrainian woman who was pushing forward the fake news segments. Because, like I said, the whole concept of fake news came from the left first, and there was connections there through an organization which I'm spacing on the name on right now, that is responsible for worldwide propaganda to that is Western focused, that basically puts out messaging to convince the Western world that we should engage in certain war efforts, really. So this was part of the problem, is the connections, because once people are in politics, they know everybody at the top, and not everybody at the top has good intentions. And so there were all sorts of connections going on. And the CrowdStrike report, what was it, a Little Bear and Big Bear or something? I don't know. They called them bears or whatever. I don't remember the whole story. But the report was not great, and it kind of contradicted itself. And they had problems with a previous report they had done. So that was being used against this investigation as well. And because they kept saying that they had installed something on the server, and all evidence pointed to there not actually being a server because they had cloud services instead, made the report feel very disingenuous. So there was the behavior on the DNC side made it challenging to accept their answers, and because it just didn't make sense. And I think it would have been better to include in the report that we cannot reveal our security measures, because that would make organizations less safe if we described exactly what it is that we do, right? So I think they actually had to issue a correction to their report later too, which makes it even worse. It was just a mess. The whole thing was a mess. And you're leaving some of these details out.
Big on it. They had to really deliver the story. There's that piece of it. And then the other piece of it that's so important is seeing how the story could be so helpful for their side.
Yeah.
And this is, again, another echo in the Dominion documents coming out and the Seth Rich story. At the time, Trump is besieged by stories, leaks, revelations about Russian involvement. He's fired Jim Comey. Michael Flynn has gotten pushed out. I mean, this is like May 2017 is like peak Russian scandal engulfing the White House. And this Fox News story could change all of that. I mean, Sean Hannity literally says that on air. This could change all of that. This could demolish all of this Russian nonsense. And so it was so politically convenient for them, in addition to being an obvious ratings hit. It was the perfect story for Fox.
I want to touch on what seems like a relatively new practice of fighting conspiracy theories with defamation lawsuits. How did the Rich family come to decide that suing Fox was the best course of action, and how challenging was that lawsuit?
I mean, it was a David versus Goliath endeavor, without a doubt. I mean,
they don't have the money that Dominion has.
No, they don't have the money that Dominion has. They are not politically plugged in or media savvy people. I mean, just to paint the picture for you, Joel and Mary Rich, they live in Omaha, Nebraska. Joel works for the family printing company. Mary had worked in sales for the Yellow Pages. I mean, they are wonderful, wholesome, honest, very funny, actually, people, but they don't know anything about dealing with a multinational media conglomerate like Fox News, Fox Corp. But, and one other complicating factor is also they cannot sue on behalf of Seth for defamation. They have there is a sort of an angle in their litigation that they have to put forward, which is that they suffered Fox engaged in intentional infliction of emotional distress, that the trauma that the Riches felt was so severe and Fox had been so reckless that they deserved damages for that. Right. The thing that the Riches did have going for them, Joel and Mary, and also Aaron, Seth's older brother, who became a target on his own of these conspiracy theories, is they had some really good lawyers. They had lawyers who were really at the vanguard of how do we use the law and parts of the law that are very, very old to combat a problem that is very, very new, which is online disinformation. And they are, I wouldn't say making it up as they go. Mike Gottlieb, Meryl Gavernsky, the lawyers of Sussman Godfrey, which is now suing Fox in the Dominion case. They're not making it up as they go, but they're certainly writing the playbook as they go.
No, so Mike Gottlieb is one of my close friends from D.C., so I have talked to him a lot about this case and how difficult in general these cases are. And, I know that he has always been concerned that, the damages don't necessarily dissuade places like Fox from spreading lies and conspiracies, as we have certainly seen after the Seth Rich case was settled. We now have Dominion.
Well, are you going to get into the details of what, the particular segment that set this off? Because it was Sean Hannity interviewing that private investigator who had been hired by some rich dude in Texas, I think. And he went on and did an interview, and then he had to retract everything he said. That's where it came from. It was, that's where, because he had to retract everything he said about the police records that he supposedly had access to and could prove that Seth was the leaker. And also, I don't know if they ever pursued Kim.com, because Kim.com made some huge announcement that he had been conversing with Seth Rich and had proof that he was the leaker, and that never came out because it wasn't true. And Kim.com is, if he was to come to America, I think he would actually get arrested at this point for even stuff that he did before that. But I believe that's what he said, basically, is that he can't come to America. I don't even know if he can leave New Zealand at all at this point. But yeah, he had some involvement too. Are you going to cover all that?
The Gottlieb and the other lawyers you spoke to think would have to happen for defamation lawsuits like this to really act as a deterrent? What are some of the things they're trying to go for now?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a case like Dominion, the dollar figures are so large that you could get to a place where there's a settlement or there's an award at trial that does create a real deterrent. And I think that the Dominion case could have that effect. I think there's something of a deterrent from the Rich lawsuits, even though the sort of rough dollar amount we know of from Joel and Mary's case was, in the seven figures. So certainly not bankrupting Fox, but it did sort of expose the inner workings of Fox in a way that I know they really did not like. So that's a deterrent. But also, what Mike and his colleagues.
So was it a settlement, or did they actually get a verdict on that? Did they settle out of court? What happened?
Merrill and other lawyers and sort of disinformation experts in the space are thinking about is, look, damages in a case like this should not just be a kind of dollar figure that we think compensates you for what you've gone through. Damages should be what is the cost for exposing to everyone who heard the conspiracy theory about you the true story. How do we, literally, how do we design a media campaign, print, TV, online, social media, whatever, that would actually take a measurable step toward repairing your reputation? Because that is what is damaged more than anything in these cases, whether you're Aaron Rich, whether you are Joel and Mary Rich, Seth Rich, whether you're Dominion. Your name is sullied. Your reputation. You go online, people see horrible things about you. What would it cost to actually counteract that? No one has come up with this. No one has thought about this really until Mike and Merrill started thinking about it coming through these cases. And I think it's still in the works, but yeah. I think you'll see some pretty interesting stuff in that vein and, coming up pretty soon.
Well, I mean, just putting my sort of political strategist, communication strategist hat on here, I was thinking about this because there's a dollar amount and there's like a big media campaign to try to reach people, but then there's also what you include in that media campaign. Mm-hmm. And I do think like an apology and also these hosts who have spread the lie, who have some measure of credibility, clearly with the people who believe these conspiracies, saying, I was wrong, I lied, and put that in an ad and spread that around. I think you're still not going to convince everyone, but that's probably, in my mind, the most effective, that would be the best chance you have at convincing people.
Right. I mean, imagine a world in which Sean Hannity is on his primetime show with millions of viewers, and he says, I have a special announcement, and that special announcement is him apologizing and or correcting the record about whoever it was he talked about or whatever the things he said that were inaccurate and defamatory. I mean, that would strike me as, it'd be hard to put a dollar amount on the value of that, but that is the kind of thing that people, like you, people like Mike, people like Merrill, people who specialize in disinformation are really trying to think about, because the old ways of doing this, a brief clip of someone saying what we said was wrong, sorry, or just giving someone money, that doesn't actually address the real damages here.
Offline is brought to you by OneBladeShave.com.
Okay, we're going to pause for a second. But yeah, I mean, I find it incredibly rare for anybody in politics to actually apologize for anything. I find that incredibly rare. We'll pause here. This will be the part 2.